This is the Friday, May 3rd, 2013 version of the Market Plus segment. Joining us now is Naomi Blohm. Naomi, welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
One of the things we didn't get a chance to talk about on the show was the cotton market. And I understand we did see solid exports this week in cotton, and we saw a little bit of a burst in prices. Can you give us a little bit more of an idea what to expect here going forward?
Cotton will likely be able to hold the trading range that it's been in. And yes, the export market picked up, which was a nice surprise. And the other part to cotton is that the planting pace, like corn, is behind, and it's actually historically the slowest ever. It was only 14% planted this week, and last week was only 10%. And so that market is slow and steady climbing. It still faces the large global glut that's out there. There's a lot of supplies, and the International Cotton Advisory Group came out this week and said that they think that the ending stocks are going to grow by X amount this next year, and it just tried to paint a bleak picture on it. And then this week when China came out with that negative PMI number, that really pushed the market lower as well. And so cotton went down because everybody thought, oh, well, nobody's going to be buying cotton, you know, t-shirts, clothing, that type of a thing. So the rally that I had today was really a nice surprise.
Okay, and it was just a surprise. People were looking for a commodity to pick, and
well, it had been oversold a little bit, so I think it had some value to it, and probably, you know, the positive economic data that we had today helped.
Sure.
And specifically, if there was anything beyond that, I hope I didn't miss it.
Okay.
So.
Well, and positive economic data, of course, you're going to be buying more suits and shirts, especially as more people get employed and they need clean underwear and so on. We do have a lot of great questions from our Twitter and Facebook followers, and you're never going to guess most of the questions this week. Weather. There's a lot of questions. And in fact, I think we've got 4 of them on here. What have we talked about on the show? Are we going to see additional acres switching from corn to soybeans? Do you think more than the million acres the market's planned?
Well, I was thinking about that because if the trade is already saying that it's 2.5 less corn, so then I was thinking, well, is it all going to go to beans, or is, you know, what else would it go to, or is it going to be abandoned acres or that type of a thing? And that's something that we'll just have to be seeing in the coming weeks, depending on, you know, geographically where these delays are coming from, the Dakotas and, you know, Minnesota, where they just got dumped on a foot of snow. That's going to be a factor. And so, yeah, absolutely, maybe the soybeans could get at least maybe 2 million acres. It's hard to tell, you know, we just have to wait and see. But the market is already thinking about it, so it won't be a surprise in June when they come out with the report. Okay.
All right, so we're planning for it, we're anticipating, and it will be continually priced in as this wet weather continues. Now, Adam in Litchfield, Michigan, is curious. We've been focusing a lot on weather in the heart of the Corn Belt with the snow and the rain we've been experiencing recently, but there have been dry places throughout the rest of the country. North Dakota is getting some corn in, Indiana. How is planting progressing in your opinion in some of these drier pockets? Are we seeing solid planting progress?
You know, we are, surprisingly. I talked with some producers in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and this week on Tuesday and Wednesday, they were pushing as hard as they could because they had tiled. And so that's really what's saving it. And so they're able to go, and they're not mudding it in. They're just going as they can go, and they tried to get as much done before this current system went through. So how much they got done, I'm not sure totally. I would guess with 2 days of planting that maybe the planting progress report would jump from 5%, this is just my guess, to, you know, 10%, maybe 11% on Monday. But then we're still waiting, of course, for Iowa and Minnesota. And Minnesota was supposed to be such a key player this year with the corn acres that I'm really curious how Minnesota is going to fare.
Okay, and even if the report comes in at 11, 10, 11, even 12%, we're still 30% behind the 5-year average, roughly. So that is probably going to be a market mover, do you think, unless forecasts sort of
I would say market supporter.
Okay.
Market supporter. It would keep it from going backwards and going down. But the bigger factor, like I had said earlier, is whatever the weather forecast is Monday morning. That'll trump it.
That'll be the big mover in this next week. And now this was something we touched on the show, but I think William in Hiawatha, Kansas, would like you to get into a little bit more detail. As the market looks at this wetness and cold that we're experiencing across the Corn Belt, how and when are they going to start to position themselves for potential troubles during pollination? What are your thoughts there?
It's a tricky thing because, like from the wheat perspective, if you think about the wheat crop just really suffering and not going to be validated until harvest. That's something where you have to be ready and anticipating just this defunct market, and then all of a sudden the funds are going to wake up and they're short in the market right now. So if they just short cover their positions, that should allow for at least a 50-60 cent rally. And then if someone wanted to come in and be a buyer on top of that, it would be a rally that could happen of over $1 within a week. And if you're sleeping, you're going to miss it. So you have to just be scenario planning and anticipating that move to potential to happen. And the same would be true for the corn market. So if we have a rally right now and we sell it in May, and then the market kind of just peters out, goes sideways to lower, you have to be ready to think, okay, if we have some weather issues in July, what am I going to do to capitalize on that? So you have to be thinking on both facets of this entity right now. And not that you're bullish or bearish, it's just how you have to deal with it. So be ready to be long and short at the same time.
Really, that would be the advice, is be prepared for either scenario.
Absolutely.
Especially as we get closer to summer.
Yeah.
And that's how the market's going to be trading.
Yeah, because if this corn market does end up having weather issues in July, it is going to bring, I think, the funds back in a big way, because they've been all happy in the stock market land, and they're going to stay there until they need to go away. And so when they come back, they're going to have a whole lot of money that they made in the stock market that they can put back in commodities. And boom, there goes your $8 corn to potentially higher than that, depending on what the weather scenario is in July.
And so you mentioned we've got net shorts in wheat. Where are the funds sitting at in corn currently?
It's interesting, because I just found out that they had actually gone short just a little bit. And now they're, I think it was like 15 to 20,000 contracts long. I mean, small, minuscule.
All right, it was kind of that Monday move brought them back into long.
And so they still have potential to come in and be extreme buyers, because when they're long, and this is the trend following funds, they're like 150,000 to sometimes 200,000 contracts long, and that's what gets us the big $2 moves.
Certainly.
So.
And soybeans, do we know where they are in soybeans? Okay, all right, and I don't either. I haven't looked at all this week. So that's kind of your general thought there. Now, before we let you go, a topic we've been following a lot is the dollar moving amongst the world's currencies. Could you give us some thoughts on, with this employment situation we've seen and with the Dow spiking, where do you think the dollar might be trending here in the next week or so?
I would say in the next week it's going to be tug of war in between the values that it's been at. And then beyond that, it's more, the battle of is the United States the lesser evil? How's our economy doing versus the rest of the world? And so every report that comes out every day is going to make that market move one way or the other, until finally the tug of war happens so big that it pulls it out of the range that it's been in. So that is just dependent on news down the road. But in the next week or two, I would say all the commodities are going to just be volatile and back and forth and just moving.
Okay. All right, so that's what it's going to be, that tug of war, watching those reports.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Naomi. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for continuing to send in your questions via Facebook and Twitter, especially this week. We really appreciated all the pictures of, the sad pictures of lonely farm equipment trapped under blankets of snow. We just wanted to let you know, a big thank you as well. We did top 4,000 followers on Twitter. So thanks to all of you following us on Twitter. With that, we hope you have a great week. Please tune in next week. Continue to watch Market to Market. Continue to send us your questions. Have a great week.